I don't know if you're aware that it takes, if you're fresh out of university, on average it takes you about 3 years to get a job. 3 whole years. In a year on average you'd probably do about 6 interviews. So let's say 1 every quarter. Okay. At any one point there is, for every 1 job at your level, on average we have about 500 to 1,000 applications. You're competing against 500 people, 1,000 people, every 1 point. Okay. So there's a lot of discussions that we can have around before you do the interview. How are you doing? How do you prepare? Should you even be applying for jobs? But today it's around, if you get the chance to be the top 10 that gets called for an interview, how do you make sure you walk out of there with an offer? Especially if you're like me, you don't know anyone, you don't have a rich uncle, a rich auntie, you didn't go to Alliance, you're just a hustler like me, and you've actually managed to get into the top 10 that are being interviewed. What should you do? This is what we're going to talk about today. I hope you're ready with your pen and paper. And so, yeah, let's do this. So let me tell you a bit about us as hiring managers. It's very hard to make a decision on someone in 30 minutes. A typical interview is 30 minutes. It's very hard to make a decision in 30 minutes. So we have what we call heuristics. We have certain ways we make decisions for 30 minutes to determine whether this person can do the job or not. It's very unfair sometimes, but we only have 30 minutes to decide whether you can do the job. Okay? So what are we looking for in 30 minutes? We are looking for some, we call them signals, natural signals that we are thinking. One is, are you organized? Can I depend on this person? Do they look organized? And we'll talk about how do you do that? Do you show up on time? How do you just look organized when you're walking in? Are you sharp? Intelligence is the highest predictor of job success. We will try and figure out whether you're sharp. Do you ask questions? Do you know our company? Or are you just regurgitating? How well did you do in school also comes up. Do I have to hold this person's hand is the third one. When I look at you immediately, are you the kind of person I'll have to every day weep, or do you have self-motivation? So we'll check whether, have you done your homework? Did you come there knowing about us? Ama, you're asking us, what do you guys do, right? The other one is, can I trust this person? Every manager wants to work with someone they trust. Immediately they check you in there. For that 30 minutes, they want to know very quickly, can I trust this person? And then what we do is we package all this thing and we say we are looking for someone with the right attitude. But there's no really right attitude. We are looking for signposts. Can I trust you? Are you organized? Do I have to hold their hand? Are they sharp? Okay? For you, on the other hand, you're looking, ideally for you, you should also be interviewing the employer. So even you all have your own signals. But as a manager, that is what we are looking for. So today we are going to talk about how do you prepare. So by the time you're coming there, you're sorted. Okay. So I will start with before the interview. And there's a reason I do this is I did an interview with someone the other day and they said for them to drill a well, it takes them 2 years of preparation, but the drilling takes 2 months. Did you hear that? It takes 2 years of preparation to drill a well for 2 months. I want you to always think about it like that when you're preparing for interviews. A lot of your results is going to happen way before. In fact, I can almost tell whether, you can almost yourself tell whether you win an interview by how much you've prepared. All right. So let's start. Number 1, your CV. I'm not talking about the content. How well do you know your CV? You need to know your CV so well, you can almost say everything in your CV without being told. Nasiku cram, it has to be a story that flows. Okay? You need to know your dates, and you just left university, so it's 1 page, 2 pages maximum. So it's not hard. You can know your accomplishments, you can know the dates of high school, primary, the dates you went to attachment. They are small things, but again, remember, signals. Are they organized? Are they sharp? Those are the signals that are coming out. So know your CV really well. The second one that I think for me is most important, the job description, the advert. Let me call it the advert. So someone tells you, okay, here's an advert, fill it, and then you fill the advert, you've actually come for an interview. Pick that advert, okay? Read it word for word. Understand, think about it again and come back and say, what do they mean? But I'll also give you another secret. There's a website called Zety, Z-E-T-Y. Go dump the advert there, and you can even dump the CV. What it has AI, it will tell you this is what they're looking for, these are the highlights. Or even go to ChatGPT with that advert and say, please summarize for me the highlights for this job. From every job advert you're looking to pick up, what are the 5, what we call competencies? What are the 5 key skills that they're looking for? What are those things that they're looking for? That is what you really, really need. How will you know that you've understood a job advert well? Is you can tell someone what the job is without looking at the JD, and you're not cramming. You just say, oh, I can see they're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and here is why I think I'm suitable. That is how you tell how well you understand a job. Okay? So 2 things. We've talked about the CV, number 1. Know your CV really well. Know all the key dates, key accomplishments. Number 2, we've talked about the job description or the role advert. Understand that thing. Take it to ChatGPT. Let it give you the 5 highlights. Think about those 5 highlights. That's 2. Number 3 now is where the investigative work starts. How do you do your background check and your homework before an interview? 5 things you need to consider. 1, the company. Unleash your stalker. Go to the website, read every page, understand, familiarize yourself. What do these guys do? What problems are they solving? Every company in the world is trying to solve a problem. Every company, NGO, government, all of us are trying to solve problems. What problem is this company solving? Say, for example, you're applying to KRA. Lose example, KRA. Go to their website and figure out what problem is KRA trying to solve. And then in your head, try and really, really internalize that they're trying to do. Okay? Have questions from that. Okay, so I can see so you can figure out, okay, so this is the problem they're trying to solve. Say you're applying to Cellulant, which is a fintech, and you're a software developer. Fintech are trying to solve maybe a payments problem from merchant to bank. Okay? Go deep. Okay, how are they doing it? Why did they think this was important for them? All right? Get into the details of that. That is really, for me, the beginning of everything. And then the next thing is, so you've talked about the company, the next thing is the department. You applied for, I'll use 2 examples. One I'll start with, let's say you've applied for a sales executive at Tropical Heat. Tropical Heat sell spices, okay? So the department then will be the sales department. Go to LinkedIn, okay? Tropical Heat, find the head of sales, find out who is there, what do they do, how many people are in that department, how many people are in the team. Check whether you know anybody there by this. Sometimes you'll realize you know someone who you can talk to about that. Find also in that department, so you're in the sales department, find out, can you see anything on the clients they've worked with, what products they sell, what is interesting for them, what is their latest launch, what is in the news about that department. That's number 1. If, let's say you're a software developer, find out what language, what tech stack they're using. Okay, so dig a bit before the interview, and then have a few questions at the back of your head to ask if you're not clear on something. Let's say you are applying for a sales job in Tropical Heat, it's a sales department, but you can't actually see anybody in sales in their department, okay? Or you can't see celebrations around what they've done. Have those questions, and then later on, you can actually think about what you ask. Number 3, so we've talked about, find out about the company, find out about the department. Number 3, find out about the product. Every company has a product. If you're in sales, what are you going to sell? If you're applying to Usudi, are you coming to sell to the clients, or are you coming to sell to the youth? Okay, this is really, really important. Find out more about the product. If you can familiarize yourself with the product, maybe you are going to Toyota, for example, to apply for a job as a sales executive in Toyota. You know Toyota cars. Go even for a test drive before. No one will stop you from going for a test drive before, but familiarize yourself with the product that you're going to sell. If you're a software engineer, familiarize yourself with that tech stack. Go into their website, even if you can't get into how they use, for example, that particular product that you're going to be involved in, please do. If you're in customer service, familiarize yourself with even some of the tools that they do, but go down to the product that they have. Second last thing, for every job interview that you apply for, I'm sure there's maybe you got a meeting invite, and in the invite there were people who you knew were going to attend that interview. Most of them, at least they have that. It is the best thing to happen to you. And if you don't know who is interviewing you, please ask the person who gave you the call. Even if you have to call them back, say, please, can I know who will be in the interview panel? Ask politely, ask nicely, who will be in the interview panel. Now, the reason I tell you to find out about these people is people buy with emotion and justify with reason. 30 minutes is not enough to make a really solid objective decision on a person. Chances are it's going to be an emotional decision. Have data to help you. Connect with that person. The only way you can connect with someone is if you've done some homework. Kidogo, all right? So let's say there were 3 people in that interview panel. Go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your best friend for interviews, by the way. Maybe they're on Twitter. Let's try and go to LinkedIn first before we go to Twitter. Go to LinkedIn, find them. They'll probably see you did, because you know LinkedIn alerts someone that this person looked for you. That's even better. You're already building an emotional connection. Find them there, check their career history. What jobs have they done? How long have they been in that company? What do they like? What do they promote? What comments do they enjoy? You're doing all these things to help you later so that when you're building an emotional connection with that person, it's not hard. Like it's literally, oh, I saw it on your LinkedIn that you are doing this. Tell me more about this. What is interesting about them? Those things are really, really, really important. So those to me are the key things: the company, the department you're going to work in, the product you're interacting with, and about the interviewers. If there are 3, do your homework. 3 people si mingi. Remember we said a lot of the work before then comes before. Okay? As you're doing all these things, have questions. Please don't have questions that someone can answer off, but just write them down. Have a notebook, write everything down, and then just practice. The last thing I want to give you before the interview, the last thing that is really, really important is what I call mock interviews. This is something we do in Usudi almost intuitively. The team helps people who join the academy to do, we do I think about 3 mock interviews to just help you really be ready and prepared for an interview. An interview is just a sales thing, but how do you do so? You do mock interviews. How do you do this? Be ready. Have even your parents, especially your parent or someone more senior, sit on the other side and interview you. Give them a list of questions. Let them ask you. And prepare for very, very honest feedback around how you're posing, how you're sloshing, your story. Make sure they really, really help you figure this out. Don't forget to practice. Another hint, if you're in sales, practice is, you will thank me later for this. If you're invited for an interview in tropical heat, try and sell that product before you go. Sell it to your parent. Try and sell a spice. Or if you're invited to an interview, sell something before you go. Try and actually put yourself in that situation where you have to sell that product. Look at the pitch, see how it sounds, how does it feel for you as you do it, because it's the only way you will be able to know actually. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes, the more questions you have in your head and you're like, yep, I want to ask this question, I wonder how they did this, this was not making sense to me, but practice. If you're applying for a customer service job for KRA, call customer service KRA. What stops you from calling? Just listen to them and listen to how they respond, how do they answer you, how do they take you from one department to another. Please do it. Don't be afraid to just go there and do the things that you think you want to do. If you're applying for a job in finance, ooh, that's an interesting one. I wonder how, you can't practice finance like that because it's people's books and QuickBooks. You can find out whether you can see the platform that they're using. You can find out what you know about them externally, maybe the financial information that they have. But all I'm saying is don't walk into an interview without inside knowledge that can come from research, especially publicly available information. Okay? That is preparation. It's taken us about 12 minutes to just talk about preparation. I can't stress this enough. Preparation is everything. I'll give an example of my own. If I think about the interviews, every time I get hired for a position, I ask people why they hired me. And the one I remember the most is I had done 5 interviews. I was on my 5th interview and we were just the 2 of us remaining, and they were really struggling to select the last person. And so they brought us so many times. This time they'd even brought us to what they call the work. They wanted to see how we would behave at work between myself and the other person. And I was selected in that session. And I asked them later, so what what made you guys decide on myself and not the other? And the answer was just, there was an emotional connection because I was very helpful. So I would ask, do you need help with that? Can I help you with that? So the help was it. That literally, that is what made the final difference between me being selected vis-a-vis the other person, because we were both technically competent. Okay? I can't stress this enough. People buy with emotion and justify with reason. The more you do your homework and people can know, this person looks sharp, this person looks organized, this person looks like I can trust them, this person looks like I don't have to hold their hand, you're in. No questions about it. Even if not for that job, for probably another one. But you're definitely in. And maybe even before I go into the next, I want to talk a little bit about why holding your hand. I'm talking about the education system in Kenya, not the ones outside. The ones outside are probably different. About 80% of our education system in Kenya does not allow you to learn how your hand needs to be held. There is structure in a lot of things that we do. There is so much structure in our education system. You need to go to class at this time, you need to study. Exam is already a structure. The fact that there are exams means there's going to be a structure in a way by which you're going to be assessed. So you come into the world of work where there's no structure. By the way, you figure out your day. Your goals are waiting for you, but no one is there telling you kuna exam end month. Exam to ni KPIs, but even those KPIs, sometimes it's the manager's emotion that is a KPI. It's actually not written down anywhere. Okay? So the world of work is so different. And that is why people say work experience. For me, work experience is for you to learn how to be an adult. An adult has no structure. No one tells you what time to wake up. No one tells you what time to sleep. With remote work, that's even worse because it's just you and your own self-motivation. So managers really, and that is why when you're late for 5 minutes for an interview, that's it. That person needs to be managed. So really take time, think about it, but make sure when someone sees you, they think they can rely on you anytime. Cool. The next thing we're going to go through is the day of the interview. So you've done your preparation. You've done your 10,000 hours of preparing. You know the company like the back of your hand. You know everybody. You've stalked them. Hope you've not stalked their children and their wives. You've stalked the hiring manager, everything. You now say, okay, it's time to go. What happens? So let's talk about the day. My assumption is that you know where you're going. Probably the day before. Okay? You've done your homework. You've looked. You're like, okay, I'm going to Ngara. This is how long it takes me. This is my matatu, all that. Okay? Make sure you have the contact one person's number in that organization. Don't go for an interview without someone's number. Why? Life happens. I hope you're not using a border, but just in case Ineza Gongwa, you might be, a cop might, anything will happen. You want to be able to call at least 15 minutes if you're running late and say I'm running late by 10 minutes. Don't call at the time of the interview. 15 minutes before the interview, you should know. So please have a contact number for someone. Please go with a folder. Hata kama ndani ni makaratasi, I wouldn't say a briefcase, but if you can have a briefcase, even better. Have a folder of some sort that you carry with you. And in this folder, there's a few things obviously that I want you to carry. But first, just look a bit professional, have something. If nothing else, a brown envelope. Ukishindwa kabisa, have a brown envelope that you carry with you. There's nothing as bad as walking into an interview and then the papers are just strewn all over. You're trying to pick up, oh, my CV, ngojea, my certificate is here. Signal, disorganized. Immediate. They're thinking, this person is disorganized, all right? So have that folder that you bring with you, that you have. In that folder, 3 copies of CVs. Why 3? 1 for you. But there's nothing as looking organized as telling the hiring manager, I also brought for you a CV. Can you imagine? How cool is that? Immediately they're like, yo, this kid is organized, all right? So carry extra folders that will just help you, okay? If you have a business card, I keep telling all of you, if you've joined the academy, you know I tell you, have a business card, or even if it's just online. Have somewhere where you can write someone's number. Sometimes I love it when someone walks into a room and they're giving me a business card. This is my name, this is my number. Amazing. Pen and notepad should be in that folder of yours. There's nothing. I have seen so many interviews where someone borrows me a pen. Disorganized. Immediate. By the way, they didn't even take a minute. I'm like, they couldn't even think of bringing a pen. It's 10, and then I say it's 10 shillings. Hata yawangeweza kufikiria. So bring a pen, bring a notepad. A notepad is where obviously you have all your questions that you've already written down. And I'll tell you other reasons. Sometimes I write people's names. I'm really bad at names. So when someone says a name in an interview, I write their questions before I answer. When you write down stuff, remember you look organized, you look like you're thinking through. So always carry a pen and a notepad as you're coming in. Obviously your phone will be part of that because I can't imagine you not having a phone. But in a sense, those are the things that I would say would be in that. Let's talk dressing. Because I'm a what? X generation, I don't know which one I am, the one before the millennials, that one. I could be old, so I'm going to speak as an old person. But I want you to remember, people my age are interviewing you. You'll be lucky to be interviewed by millennials. Yes, millennials are also interviewing, but chances are there's almost 50-50 split between millennials and myself, and maybe a bit of Gen Zs for some of them. Your dressing, we judge you from here to heaven, okay? Always err on the side of underdressing. Kuja na hiyo suti, hata kama iko na hizo matag za isili, it's okay, come with it. Things to avoid, t-shirt. I can tell you how many times in USUDI people have failed interviews because, and their hiring manager just writes, came with a t-shirt. I'm like, come on, so they have a brain. Nope, done, finished. Remember signals. I can't trust this person if they can't dress nicely. So immediately they decide you've come with a t-shirt, that's it, they're done. Okay? Unless you found out that they wear jeans, especially for men, please check first and confirm about dressing code and that you can come in jeans. Yes, you can't come in jeans and an official shirt and a coat if you can't, but that one, be very careful, especially for an interview. Just have slacks on, be official. Ladies, these are tight jeans, please let's leave them for after the interview. Err on the side of overdressing all the time. I don't have to talk about shoes. No sneakers, please. Please just have that one pair of shoes that you only wear to interviews. Just nice, decent pair of shoes. In your graduation, I'm sure you still remember it. The rest of the time you can wear other things, but err on the side of caution, err on the side of overdressing as much as possible. It shows organization. They respect things I can trust. Remember the signals all the time. What will this signal? Because they don't have a lot of time, so the signaling is really, really important. Cool. We've talked about the day of the interview. We've said know where you're going, have a contact number, carry a notepad, carry a folder with a few things inside, including your CV. So let's talk about the day interview now. So you've left your house, gotten into your matatu, you've gone, you're there. You're there 30 minutes early. Let's start there. Plan to be there 30 minutes before the interview. Okay, also not 1 hour. 1 hour pia inakuwaga a bit too much because we are thinking, when you didn't have anything else to do in your house. 30 minutes before the interview, okay? At minimum 15 minutes. Trick, be pleasant from the minute, even to the Uber guy, if you're coming on Uber. Be pleasant. That day is your positive vibes, positive energy day because things can go wrong. How you greet the receptionist, how you ask is everything. Okay, so be nice to them. Wait there, ask for water as much as possible. Be dehydrated, be ready. Greet the people around you. I know for a fact that sometimes, especially if it's a sales position, I am very biased towards people who are chatting others because it means you're very easy with other people. So when you have other people, oh, you also came for this interview, okay, how was your experience? Don't be afraid to be open. It actually shows that you can get along with others. Signal, can they get along with others? Is there already, okay? In the interview room, here it's tricky. For me, if it's Zoom, obviously, log in at least 5 minutes before. Actually, let me go to Zoom now. Log in 5 minutes before, all the time. Dressing is still the same. Be really, really smartly dressed. For Zoom, when you walk in, immediately the camera must be on, light must be beautiful. Please test as many times as you can. It's really, really important that your light is perfect. It's on point. You've tested before. They can see your face and everything else. And your audio is clear. The minute you walk into a Zoom call, greet people, have your best smile on. It can't be plastic, but have your best smile, be a bit active, be a bit agile. Try and break the ice. I always tell people, like if I was doing an interview and I was interviewing you, and you can see the back and that mirror, I would say, oh, that's an interesting mirror. Are those butterflies? Do you get? That's an interesting flower. Is that dry flowers? Have something to start the conversation. Okay? Avoid things that are so personal, but just break the ice in a way that that allows you, again, can I get along with this person? That trigger is almost immediate there. Okay? If it's a physical interview, it's different. If you can shake people's hands, I always say try and shake someone's hand. Say your name and repeat their names. If you're like me who forgets names, please try and repeat their names if you can. If they're seated and it's a tight room you can't see, when they say their names, write it down. It's okay. Ask again and write it down, because then it shows your signal organized in that way, because you want to remember this. Right. Okay, so that is everything around getting ready. So now the interview has started. Life has begun. The tension is now here. How do you go next? Rule of thumb. There's a question that will always be asked. Tell me about yourself. Why do we ask this question? Maybe I should start there. We ask this question to break the ice. Okay? We ask this question to just start us off easily. I don't start with that question because I like confusing people, but I know a lot of people start with that question, which is tell me about yourself. It gives them time to organize themselves in the room. It gives them time to know you a little bit. But remember, first impressions are lasting impressions. That question is power-packed. How you sell yourself in that particular question is going to be everything. Okay? How do you do it? Loose rule of thumb. 60, 30, 10. What is this? 60% of that question should be around your past. And we'll go into the details. 30% should be around, wait, that my mathematics is off. 20%, so 60, 20, 20. 20% should be around your present. And 20% should be around your future. Okay? Just loosely remember that. 60, 20, 20. 60 about my past, 20 about my present, and 20% about my future. Remember the homework you were doing at the first? I always say ask at least 3 questions. Some questions of yours will be answered as you go along. So you can say, I can see some of my questions were answered. This is where you unleash your notebook. Some of my questions you answered, but I still have these 3 questions that I'd like to ask. Okay? Always find a question around the company. Some of the questions, I'm happy to send you this before, is you can ask about employees. If you're not very clear about why it was started, you can ask about competition, but always ask a question around the company. It's really, really important for you to ask something around the company to show care, all right? Ask about the department or the role. How big is the team? How do you praise? When was your last celebration in this team? How big is this team? How are you growing? What are the plans for growth in the next? How many people are at my level? If you're selling a product, please ask about it. Okay? How has this product done? How long has it been in the market? How has it looked like in comparison to other competition? What do people struggle to sell? This is me trying code, but what lines of code is it hard for engineers, other people in this role? But yes, ask about the company, ask about the department, ask about the interviewees. So you can say, when I was just preparing for this interview, I saw that you've been in this role for the last 6 months. What was attractive for you? Why was it important for you to join Yusudi? That's a very personal question. People like talking about themselves. In fact, for you sometimes to know that you've made it in an interview is how long the managers are talking more than you. The more they talk, the more chances are you're engaging, by the way. So let them talk. Let them answer. Ask about things. Maybe you saw something else. Maybe you saw they're an Arsenal fan, whatever. But you remember you've done your homework on the interviewees. This is the time to really, really build that connection. Ask questions. Don't ask questions that you can find on the website. We don't want you to cram. That is not sharpness. In fact, the are they sharp signal just goes up immediately. Because we are like, hey, you want us for people to answer a question that you can ask unaweza enda pata kwa website. So make sure that your questions are really thoughtful, well prepared about the product, about the company, about the interviewee. The last question I want you to always ask, too, is questions around what's in it for you. Okay? But this question is always the last one. Please, isikwe ya kwanza. We don't want to think you're selfish. Let me give you the secrets. So do you have any questions? So how much is this job? No. First of all, don't ask that question. But second of all, don't start with questions about you. Start with them, and then the second last questions can be about you. So ask what is the typical career path for someone in this role. For the first interview, I don't encourage you to ask about salary. We are not there yet. It's like a date. There's a chemistry that is played. So unless they ask you, which I can happily have to answer that for you, try not to ask about salary at that point yet. So leave salary discussions for then. Ask about career progressions. Ask about how people are rewarded. I really like when someone asks, there's a candidate who asked me this question, and obviously I heard them, but it was a beautiful question. Is there anything I haven't answered for you? Is there anything more I can clarify? It was a really beautiful question because we've spoken, it's at the end. Is there anything in my CV, in my profile that you're still not sure that I can help you answer to help you make a better decision? Okay? The last thing for any questions for me is, in sales we say always be closing. Never miss a chance to close, especially if you're applying for a sales position. You must be a closer. Closing, always. Closing questions are, what is next step? Do you have a specific timeline? If they say yes, you say, if I don't hear back from you in 2 weeks, are you okay for me to just check in? And sometimes ask, so what are your thoughts on my experience? Ask, it's a hard one, but I always say ask. Always ask. You have very, very little to lose if they say, well, we'll come back to you, but always ask that. Okay? Have at least 3 questions. Always. Avoid salary for them if you can, unless it's your 3rd or 4th interview. Try and avoid salary questions. Don't ask questions that someone can Google. We have Google. We all have. We even have ChatGTP. Please be thoughtful. Sharp signals. Again, we're trying to see, is this person sharp? Can they understand things? Right? Okay, so that's it. Now the interview is finished. You've shaken their hands. You said goodbye. You've walked out. You said bye to the receptionist. You're off. What do you do after the interview? Now, there's a lot of feedback and a lot of there's a report that I read that was very interesting. It said that when managers were asked, do you like someone sending a follow-up email? 91% said it shows they're organized. 91%. Am I one of them? Yes, I am. Please always try and send a follow-up email. Same day. Okay? There will be one around what do you put in a follow-up email, or just Google what to put in a follow-up email. Okay? Answer any questions that were not answered, that you're not able to answer at the time. Show a link. Maybe they'd said, oh, that's interesting, I didn't know. Send some interesting article that you think you can connect with more on the hiring manager. But always express your appreciation. Try and follow up and just close it in a nice way by sending an email. Some people send text. I prefer an email because it's more official. Please use ChatGTP. It'll give you everything you need. Or go online and Google. Signal, sharp. Okay. Last thing, I can see we have a few more minutes. How do I know I have gotten the job? Remember, people hire with emotion and justify with reason. Okay? The signals will be there again. Remember, they will be thinking, after you leave the room, can I depend on this person? Are they sharp? Do I have to hold their hand? Can I trust them? That's what they'll be asking themselves. Yes, we have many papers on the table, but the signals are those. They just keep thinking, okay, so what evidence did this person show that I can depend on them, that they were organized, they come up on time, all those things, okay? But also there are words that people use that you can almost tell. So some of the words are, so when you start, your experience in, okay. So when can you start? There is a way. And some people are very honest. They're like, I really like your experience here. I like that you did this here. We will come back to you probably in another week or two, even, They laugh, they connect with you, they stand up and shake your hand. They almost volunteer to help you in some other way. They'll be like, okay, if this doesn't go, I can even think of another role for you somewhere. They're connecting with you. So there are signals. You can almost leave knowing you can get the job. Okay, sometimes you're surprised still, but if you're honest with yourself, did you connect? Was there enthusiasm? Or did people leave and they're like, thank you, everybody's just waving their hand? They agree with you, they'll tell you we'll be in contact as soon as possible. So those are the things, almost signals that even for you, that, because regrets in Kenya don't come that often. So you're waiting for a regret will not help you. But you can leave a room almost knowing, if you're careful, that you have an offer or not.